Jacob's Quest, and tonight we just got done watching episode 8 of The Acolyte, the season finale, possibly series finale. We still don't know if we're getting a season 2, which, kind of as predicted, that's going to be a big problem if we don't get another season, because we have a lot of questions left over. We don't know, a lot of things. And frankly, to keep it non-spoilers for now, the fact that we still have a lot of questions by the end of this episode is definitely something I saw coming, but I'm still disappointed that they did it. I know that they're kind of holding out hope for season 2, but because we, the audience, have to live with this in real time, and we don't know if we're ever going to get, that next season that's actually going to give us all the answers, it's infuriating, to be honest with you, because I want, Leslie had gone on record saying it's gonna be a complete season, we're gonna finish the actual story, and there's some very important things that they kind of deliberately just left lingering there that I'm like, well, it doesn't feel like a complete story because I need to know what happened there. So I don't know, we might get a season 2, but I don't know. Nothing is guaranteed when it comes to Disney Plus shows. You know what I mean? Like half the shows have never gotten a second season. Really, it's just The Mandalorian, and we know Ahsoka's getting one. But after that, nothing else gets a season 2. So I don't know. Or Andor got one too, huh? Yeah. Anyways, my point is that's kind of frustrating. But there are some really cool things that happened in this episode. For one, we got some interesting cameos, we got some awesome fight choreography, and we got to see some just Star Wars imagery that I guess I never really thought we'd ever get to see in live action. It just hasn't happened. It's happened in comics and in books and stuff, but we saw some things. I'm like, oh, look at that, that's cool. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna go ahead and jump into the spoilers, and then we'll talk about my review of the series overall, or at least so far, possibly. I don't know. So spoiler, man. One thing I really got to give to this show, and this probably should have been added to my positives, but they kind of had the guts to end this on a really dark tone, and I don't mean just a sad tone, or oh, we know this had to happen, but it's really sad anyways, Revenge of the Sith, yeah, this is how the story ends for now. That kind of sad tone, but more of oh wow, the good guys, or possibly not the good guys, the people that you liked, they lost, and they didn't just lose a little bit, they entirely lost, and things in in a really bad place for everybody involved. Nobody looks like the good guy here, and we still hate to see some of the things that happened, and it's damn. And then it just ends that way. So for now, I guess until we get a season 2 announcement or something, I don't know, it's a really dark ending that it might even kind of leave you unsettled, because you're Star Wars usually tries to end with at least some kind of little hope of oh, things ended bad, but there's a little bit of hope. But this was almost no, things just kind of suck right now. Damn. All right, so let's jump into it. Okay, so as we saw last episode, and this was, the whole show has been, last episode had a lot of arguing, a lot of people fighting over their interpretations of what exactly we saw. I saw Mother Anastasia turn into a smoky monster face thing with sharp teeth and blacked out eyes, and a smoky monster, and then I saw May start to disintegrate, and then Soul stabbed her because, probably just like us, Soul's what the hell's going on here? She's attacking the child, what's happening, right? So when I see those events, I'm obviously, we, the audience, know that Mother Anastasia did not mean any harm, but he has no way of knowing that, and it's just one of those sucky things that happens when you have I don't know, people who don't understand everything, and they feel like they gotta intervene, and it's just a thing, it sucks. But the show seems to be entirely on a, well, Soul sucks now kind of thing, and I'm well, hold on, I don't know about that, because really what ends up happening here is that Soul is taking May all the way back to Brindok. He wants to go back to the planet where it happened because he knows that there's a Virgins of the Force on this planet, which, remember, is why they were there to begin with. And now that he knows that May and Osha are both alive, he can take one of them here, call the Jedi, like turn his little beacon back on so the Jedi show up, and he can prove that, like, okay, the girls were artificially created. Now, I will say this is probably one big thing I think you could take issue with the show, is that, like, it's very convenient how Sol makes all these decisions just in time for him to never be able to tell the Jedi, oh, by the way, on top of all the twins and the Brindok and all that stuff happening, there's this other guy I saw, and he's calling himself a Sith, or at least he's saying that we would call him a Sith. He's basically calling himself a Sith, and you should know that he exists. Like, Sol never gets to make that phone call because he then makes these other decisions, which is, I think that is the one thing where it's like, the show wants to do some cool stuff, but because of canon, you have to, like, work around it. And so you get, like, these, like, Sol just decided to not make that phone call. He decided to, like, no, they'll follow me to Brindok. That's what they'll do. The Jedi will show up then, and then I will explain everything. And I guess in his mind, he's like, well, if I'm not here on Brindok and I don't have one of the twins with me, I won't be able to prove that there's a Vergence here and that they were artificially created and I was protecting the, you know, because he's still insistent, like, no, I was protecting them. I'm not wrong for what I did. And spoilers, he says that, like, until his almost dying moment. He's like, I was not wrong. I did it to protect you. Which, again, from his outsider's perspective, I guess he would still believe that. But we know, like, I don't... Were the witches going to do anything nefarious? It's still unclear. And again, kind of frustrating thing about in the show here, where it's like, we have a lot of questions still. Why did the witches create the twins? Like, what was the purpose? What were they going to do? Because they were going to, like, initiate them into the coven, and they said they're going to be their new leaders, and everyone's like, oh, this is our future, right? But what does that mean? You just have two children leading you? How is this, like, I don't understand. How is this going to be your future? How is this going to, like, elongate your reign or your coven or anything? Like, don't you need more members? There's only two of them here. You know, so, like, that was a question that I've had, like, the whole time, and they still didn't answer it. So, again, just another frustrating thing. But in any case, Sol thinks that he was the good guy. They go to Brindok. May escapes. He follows May. The Stranger and Osha show up because they, you know, Osha had a vision of May about to defeat Sol without a weapon, so they both agree to go there, right? And of course, Kymir's still kind of trying to influence Osha, being like, you can join me. You can be my Padawan. Learn the ways of the dark side. You know, he's trying to convince her. And here's where we get our really interesting and yet kind of bizarre thing. Okay, so first, right as they're leaving to go to Brindok, we see a hand crawl out of the cave wall, and he's like hiding in the shadows, and we only see a part of an alien face, and it is definitely Darth Plagueis. It's Darth Plagueis. It's a Mun face. He's got, like, but he's, you know, he's got, like, the Sith eyes, and he looks really creepy, and he looks really cool. You know what I mean? And so on first watch, you're kind of like in shock in the moment. You're like, oh shit, okay, Plagueis is there. And then you kind of like start asking yourself a bunch of questions, which, again, this episode didn't answer a bunch of questions, and it's so frustrating that it didn't do that, because now, again, more questions. So Darth Plagueis was just on that planet that Kymir and Osha had been on for a couple episodes now. He was just hiding out near the ship inside of a cave. I have to imagine that Kymir knew Darth Plagueis was there, but we don't know, like, the relation entirely. I guess, are we to assume that he is Kymir's master? And if so, why is he just allowing Kymir to get his own apprentice? Like, what is the plan here? And we might kind of get a hint about this in a little bit, but Plagueis does not show back up. None of the characters acknowledge Plagueis's, like, presence there. Like, Kymir doesn't, like, give, like, a little, like, look back or anything, nothing like that. Like, so I'm almost feeling like Darth Plagueis being in this show was a last minute thing. It feels like that was not originally there, because it never gets brought up again and it never comes back up again. It feels like that might have been like a post-production add-in where they're like, you know what, let's put Darth Plagueis there just so that way the audience knows that he does exist and he is somewhere out there. Which, okay, fine, you know, like, fine. I have more questions, which again is frustrating because I want answers, but okay. Put him in there, it makes sense, fine. Now, funny enough, you know, hey, did you hear that one about how Acolyte did a cool thing, but then everyone immediately had a problem with it because it breaks the Legends continuity? Okay, anyways, so here's this one's about Plagueis being in this show. Some people are being like, well, hold on. At this point in time, Darth Plagueis would be 15 years old. I've read the Plagueis novel, which I did an entire video about this when the Ki-Adi-Mundi stuff came up, right? So Ki-Adi-Mundi, birthday, big, like, oh my god, he's not even supposed to be born yet. How is he here? Make it make sense. So I don't need to deep dive into this, but obviously, like, Legends continuity and the present continuity are not the same thing. Nowhere in the current canon of Star Wars have they ever actually said what Darth Plagueis' birthday was, because to be honest, outside of the conversation in Revenge of the Sith, Darth Plagueis has pretty much not been touched on in canon at all, not in any kind of meaningful way. We might have gotten tiny little hints, maybe, but like, they've really never touched him. So for him to be in this show, it's like, okay, he's alive, he's a Sith of some kind, probably a Sith Master already, and he's older than the version in Legends. There you go. That's like the information we can get from this now. Like, that's the most we've ever gotten in the current canon. So anyone out there who's being like, he's only 15, just shut up. You sound real stupid. You're acting real stupid. You're being real stupid. You probably look real stupid. Anyways, my point is, it doesn't matter. Okay, so Plagueis is here. That's kind of cool, but no one ever talks about it. No one ever addresses it in the show. So it does kind of feel like a last minute add-in where they're like, we gotta throw them something cool, which, okay, I'll take it. Anyway, so they go to Brendok and they get there, and basically Sol is chasing around May, and then Chimere shows up, and he and Sol have like a really awesome fight. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, this, I think I like this fight more than the other fights in the show. Like, this was really cool. They do like this awesome, like, Chimere had thrown both of his lightsabers and Sol did this like spin force push thing, and it was really neat. Like, I really enjoyed this fight. Meanwhile, Osha and May have a fight because May just tells Osha the truth of like, hey, Sol killed our mom, you know that, right? Which, again, the writing in the show, it's very convenient that none of the prior conversations that Osha and May had, which I think was, okay, maybe it was only one conversation, but in that entire conversation on Keldar, or whatever, you know, the jungle planet, in their entire conversation, she never once just came out with the fact that she saw Sol kill Mother Anastasia. She never says that. and so for that to be like a one sentence thing that completely changes the dynamics here, it feels, you know, like, oh, she probably could have said that like 3 or 4 episodes ago when they talked before, and would have easily won Osha over to her side, because it happens like right away. Like, they fight because she's all pissed off, but afterwards they're like on the same side basically. And here's where we get like our really, I think this is like the darkest ending for a Jedi character that we've seen in a minute, because so Sol is sitting there arguing that he did the right thing, he did it to protect him, he still believes that, you know, he still believes that like these girls are safer with the Jedi than they were with this coven of witches. He just regrets he couldn't have saved both of them because they are the same person. They're not twins or sisters. They are the same person who was split in two. And so this, you know, that's just what you have. Which, again, frustrating things the show just didn't answer. We don't know how that happened. You know, so not only do we not know why the witches created these twins, we don't know how these witches created these twins. they just kind of repeat what they said last episode about the virgins and the Force being this source of power that they could use to create life and then I guess divide that life. But I don't know. I feel like I need more than that. What does the process look like? Did they have any other help outside of this? What is the virgins? You know, and I know maybe there's going to be a season 2, but again, we still don't even have that like actually out there and being said that it's a thing. And so to just have these questions out there, I'm like, it feels incomplete. It just feels incomplete, and we have to wait who knows how long, if ever, we get the answers to these questions. And that, man, that sucks. That really sucks. Anyways, they do get a little bit of a hint here where Soul is talking about how like you were artificially created using the Force. They created life, and Chimere gets like this look on his face. He's like, he kind of like looks off to the side like, oh, that's interesting. So again, we're kind of questioning like, well, is it Chimere and Plagueis already trying to figure out how to make this work, and this is like a key part of Plagueis learning how to use the Force to create life, you know, like Palpatine's whole speech, right? That might be kind of what they're hinting at here, that like this is going to be pivotal in Plagueis learning how to do this. Now I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I know it's going to be a thing on the internet. Okay, so look, this Plagueis novel, Darth Plagueis, the Legends novel, it's not canon. It did a lot of cool things for the storyline and the overall, like, you know, a bunch of information was given in that novel that had never been given before. Like, pivotal, like, prequel era, like, oh, this is really important to know. This is like a massive hole in the story. The thing is, all that information is not canon anymore. So, the big one here being that in the Plagueis novel, it is, at the very least, implied by Palpatine and Plagueis having a conversation between themselves. It's implied that Plagueis attempted to create life with the Force, and the Force rejected him doing that. And in doing so, the Force responded by creating Anakin, by the will of the Force. So, in a weird kind of sideways way, you know, Plagueis kind of created Anakin. Not really, it was more of a response to Plagueis, but you know, like that's the idea. And again, this is not even a factual thing, it's just something that was stated between the two characters in the novel, which again is no longer canon anyways. So when people get all mad that the Coven of Witches in here might have, you know, had a major role in Plagueis being able to try and create life, they're getting mad about something that's like has not been canon in like a decade. It's been like a decade since you know, Legends was not canon. So like, I don't know, it feels weird to get so mad about it now. It's like, it's been this way. It's been this way the whole time. All these Disney Plus shows you've watched, it's been this way. Anyways, let's move on. So, that seems to be the only real hint we get to Plagueis, is the fact that maybe he's using these Coven of Witches to help figure out what the big secret is that Palpatine does say Plagueis figured out. So it's possible in canon they change it to, yes, Plagueis could absolutely do this. I'm sure people will get mad about that the Coven of Witches had any kind of role at all because they don't like the show, whatever. Point is, that might be what they're hinting at, but we just have unanswered questions. Again. And here we get like the real dark moment where Osha is so mad at Soul that even though he's sitting here apologizing, he's trying to explain why he did what he did, how he felt it was the right thing to do, and all that stuff. Osha starts to choke Soul. And even as Soul is dying, he's like, it's okay, it's fine. Like, you know, maybe Soul just feels so guilty he thinks he deserves it at this point, but Osha kills Soul. And that's like, damn. And she is holding Soul's cracked open lightsaber, and she's like touching the kyber crystal that's exposed, and it starts to bleed the crystal red, and we have this really awesome sequence of like, you see the crystal get corrupted, and then she ignites the lightsaber, and it like starts like fritzing out from blue to red, and it looks really cool. And this is the kind of like, you know, just dorky Star Wars stuff. You're like, wow, I never that just didn't seem like it was going to be a thing, and now we've seen that in live action. Like, we saw a crystal getting bled red, you know, and now your general audience is out there. You know, maybe some general audiences out there have always wondered, how does a kyber crystal get red, and they've never bothered to look it up because they're not nerds like us. now they can kind of get like that visual, like, oh, I guess that's how. And, you know, like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool that that information's more widely available now. I don't know, I thought it was cool. So and then we get like the cover up. I guess this whole entire third act of the episode is basically just the cover up of everything that happened. Now Soul is dead, the girls run away, the Jedi have landed, they're searching for them. Vernestra steps out of the ship and she instantly senses Chimere because he has his helmet off. And so I guess the idea is that the cortosis does kind of block a lot of the mind reading stuff, which it seems like it would be useful. I mean, Palpatine didn't really need it. Like, he was standing right in front of them and they didn't sense anything. So it's interesting that this mask could also help with that. I don't know. Maybe Darth Vader's helmet has some cortosis in it. I don't know. It's possible. Anyways, so basically what we get a confirmation of here is that Master Vernestra Rwoh is indeed Chimere's Jedi Master. They essentially confirm this later when she says she's looking for a pupil of hers that turned evil. So those whip marks on the back of Chimere, everyone was right about that. Look at that. And he seems scared. He's like running away, and Vernestra's like, whoa, you're alive? So not only does Soul have like this really dark past about how he acquired his Padawan, it looks like Vernestra Rwoh might also have a dark past about how she lost her last Padawan. So yeah, like all around, and everything that Vernestra does from this point on, the Jedi be shady, or at least some of the Jedi higher-ups be real shady. And Vernestra Rwoh might not be like evil, but she's definitely like she's not on the up and up, you know what I mean? Like, she will cover some stuff up. She will place the blame of all of the Jedi's death on Soul, which to me, that was like adding insult to injury. Now, she apologizes to Soul. She's not doing it out of spite. She like gives them the funeral pyre and everything and all that, right? She like pays her respects to her friend, but also she's like, I guess just to not let the Senate know, because like that's been her whole problem all season, and finally we actually get a senator to show up and actually got kind of threatened to like, oh, we're gonna have an overview committee, look at the Jedi because I don't trust you, you're just like this powerful organization and you say you're a religion and yet you have so much influence over our republic. That seems weird. Maybe he's got a point. But also it's like, okay, so that's what she is so afraid of, so she decides not to tell the High Council. Something else happens at the very end we'll get to in a second that kind of seems weird now, but I have, again, more questions, less answers. I need answers, come on. Anyways, basically Vernestra Rwoh is pinning everything on Soul. Soul killed the other Jedi who were on Bryndock, he killed Endara, he killed everybody. Okay, now there are a couple of people, I think, like the bartender, who could say, Soul definitely didn't kill Endara, because I was there and I was a survivor, and I'm the one who even picked out Osha, saying that, yeah, that's her, she's the one who did it. So like, there are a couple of loose ends to the story here, you know what I mean? Like, some people witnessed some things, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, I don't know, we could probably think around that. The point is, it's a big cover-up. Soul is being blamed for everything, and then they're saying that he killed himself on Bryndock. Now, the interesting thing here is, why is Vernestra Rwoh completely covering up her apprentice here? She's not even telling the other Jedi. Only at the very end of the episode does she go to see Master Yoda, and I guess, you know, she's like, I'm gonna tell Yoda, but I'm not gonna tell the High Council, because then they will feel obligated to tell the Senate, and that causes a problem for us, so I'm literally just gonna tell Yoda. Now, of course, she does not know. She does not know what the condition of her old pupil is. She just knows that he turned evil, right? And that he's still alive. So you have to wonder, like, did they have some other... They must have fought in the past. They must have had a fight in the past when he turned evil, and she left him with those scars, thought that he died, and she doesn't know much beyond that. She doesn't know that he's calling himself a Sith, so I guess technically speaking, there's, you know, I'm trying to think about it right now, I don't think there's anything in the show that would lead Vernestra Rwoh to use the word Sith, or think about Sith, or even suspect that a Sith was involved. She just knows that there was a pupil of mine, and I sensed him on that planet, so I know he's still alive. I'm going to have May, whose memory got wiped, by the way, I'm going to start interrogating her and try to see if I can get some information to find my old pupil. And the only person I'm going to confide all this in, seemingly, is Yoda. Which means Yoda knew... He at least knew a lot. Again, Yoda has not been told the word Sith. He does not know about the Sith, because Vernestra Rwoh did not know about the Sith either. She just knows that her apprentice is still alive because she sensed them for a minute. The twins are out there somewhere. I assume that the Jedi are looking for the twins because they're just gone. And Soul's being blamed for everything, but I imagine that Vernestra's gonna tell Yoda, like, Soul did not do all that. You know, she's probably gonna, like, at least on the inside of the Jedi, she's gonna clear his name. But for the public, the senators and stuff, she has to blame it all on him, which really sucks for Soul. It's just insult to injury. Man, Soul, I think you kind of got the raw deal here. You made a mistake. You know what I mean? You didn't know what was happening. You admitted to it. You were gonna, you were gonna tell the High Council and everything. You didn't deserve to die, and you definitely didn't deserve to have all of those deaths pinned on you afterwards, completely destroying your reputation post-death, which is, like, insane. And that's kind of the dark note that this show ends on. Oof. Anyways. So, basically, yeah, we have May, who has agreed to let her memory get wiped. Osha is going to go train with Kymir. After she killed Soul, she's basically like, I have a red lightsaber now, and fine, I'll come train with you. You let my sister live. They erase her memory, so she can't say anything about the Sith or any of that either, because her memory's also gone. So, anyone that knew that he used the word Sith, or implied that he might be a Sith, they're all gone. Like, none of that, like, May's memory's gone, everyone else is dead. Osha is now training with him as his Sith apprentice, and they go back to the planet, and I was kind of hoping, I was like, maybe they'll show Plagueis again, and we'll get at least, like, one line of dialogue or something to, like, answer a couple questions we still have. No. Plagueis doesn't show up, which again kind of makes it feel like maybe he was a post-production edit in there, like a last-minute decision. And that's pretty much where we leave things. Vernestra is trying to find Kymir now that she knows he's alive, but basically the Senate think there was a rogue Jedi who killed a bunch of other Jedi. Kind of crazy, and it sucks for Soul. I feel so bad for Soul. And Yoda knew a lot of stuff. Again, they didn't use the word Sith, so he doesn't know that, but it does still kind of add to a little bit of Yoda's shadiness. It feels like, damn, Yoda, I know you knew the rule of two, which has always been a question for me, like, how did you know the rule of two in Phantom Menace? But I don't know, man, you're pretty shady. Did you know the Sith were out there? Because you at least got a hint of it. And then, yeah, basically we have Osha with Kymir back on the planet. And that's really where we leave things. So, unanswered questions. We don't know why the witches created the twins. We don't know, like, specifically what the plan was. Were you going to transfer all of your life essences into the twins? Were you going to use them for eternal life somehow? We don't know. We just, there were only two children, and somehow they were going to be the future of the Coven, even though there's only two of them. Okay. No explanation. How did they get created? We still get, like, the vagueness of, oh, there's something on the planet, some powerful version in the Force, and we don't know how they were created. We literally don't know. So, okay. Plagueis. What's going on with that? Like, is he the master? We have to assume he is. Why is he okay with Kymir getting his own apprentice, breaking rule of two? Like, is he mad about that? Or is this all part of their plan to figure out the whole creation of life thing? They need her around. Don't know. Vernestra Rwoh, she knows that her apprentice is out there. And she knows that he's evil, at least. Is she going to find out that he's a Sith? We just have a lot of questions. We have a lot of questions left over. And I don't know. I guess all we can do is wait for, I don't know, like 6 months from now, when they maybe put out a headline saying Acolyte season 2's been greenlit, and we'll one day get our answers, like 3-4 years from now. And we're just kind of left here. And to be honest with you, I think that this show had a lot of high points. You know, like there's a lot of really cool stuff the show did, a lot of ideas it explored, a lot of cool visuals that we don't really get to see ever. It was really neat. However, I think it also had a lot of weak spots. I think, you know, dividing this into so many episodes when it doesn't seem like you had that much of a story, you know, like this could have been just a 2-hour, you know, special or something, or even like an hour 45-minute special. And it would have been like a really tight, cool, fast-paced thing, but then you dragged it out for 8 episodes, and the episode length was inconsistent, and that's less of a this show problem, and that seems to be more of a larger Disney Plus problem, because it happens with the Marvel shows, it happens with all the other Star Wars shows. It's just like a thing, and I don't know why it's a thing. It's just a Disney Plus thing. I don't know. I don't get it. But anyways, and also just like, you know, I think a lot of people were trying to point this out as the show was going on, about like there are some logical leaps you have to make sometimes, and I think it's because this show has to tiptoe around very tight constraints, you know. But so they want to tell this story about the Sith and the Jedi and them having an interaction, but then you have to be like, okay, but we have to be careful about what everyone says, and we have to make sure that that information dies with everyone here. You know, and stuff like that. I feel like it's just, that's just one example, but I feel like instances like that in the creation of this show kind of hurt it sometimes, because you had to be very careful about what you could do. So you can't just make a story where you can do anything you want. You have to like be very careful. Like, I don't know. So I don't know. Ultimately, I'm kind of just left kind of mixed on the show as a whole. You know, like I really loved certain parts of it, but other parts I'm like, this could have been shorter. This could have been better written. This could have been just like a good hour and a half thing. But in any case, I'm left with a lot of cool things. You know, I think that's like the overall picture here that I'm looking at, is that like this was an imperfect show that could have been better, but it did give us a lot of cool shit inside of it. I think my dream would be that they, you know, now that they've like shown Plagueis physically, or at least a little bit, they could at least like make that a project. You know, just show me the Plagueis stuff, because, you know, that this show was like a lot of setup and teases of stuff that we really want to see, you know. But it told this other story, like this other really tragic story, and this like horrible things that happened to these twins in their lives, and Jedi involvement, right, and like all that. But ultimately, it does kind of feel like the place where we ended this show, where Osha is training with Kymir. I wanted that to be like episode 3 of this show. You know, you could have like told a really condensed version of this, most of this story, in like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then by episode 3 you end it with, oh, she's training with the Sith now, and now it's just, you know, her learning the dark side and Plagueis, and how does that all work, like all that stuff. Like that's kind of what a lot of people want to see, and this feels like it was just setting that up, you know. And I'm like, if you could have done that a much quicker. So I don't know. Ultimately, the show I think is okay. I think it's better than the Book of Boba Fett. I think it's better than Mando season 3. I think parts of it are even better than Obi-Wan, right? But ultimately, it's definitely like pretty much like all of these Disney Plus shows, except maybe Mando season 1 and 2, I guess. All of these, I'm like, I love what you did a lot of the times. I could make it a lot tighter, a lot smaller of a series, and it would work a lot better that way. And that feels true every single time. So anyways, that's my review. I know I've kind of rambled on for a while there, but yeah, I don't know. Very complicated show. A lot of like mixed feelings as the finale, and we're kind of in this purgatory state waiting for the next season. So let me know how you guys feel about this. You know, I imagine a lot of you out there are kind of conflicted, or even just you're like done with the show, or you were done a while ago. A lot of interesting things. I loved a lot of pieces of it, but I think the whole big puzzle needed some work. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Bye.